Morning, all. All right, so we're going to talk about the 78-79 season, and I'm wearing the reverse retro, the second reverse retro, because on the neckline it says 79. So, all right, 78-79 it is. And, I mean, come on, there's been so many Montreal Stanley Cup victories. I've got to change up which jerseys I'm wearing. So, the NHL doesn't know how to read a map for one more year, and then things change. We kind of do away with divisions the following season. Not actually, but sort of, since they go to a balanced schedule with 21 teams. But we have 17 teams in the league this year. Montreal finishes first in the Norris. Second overall. The Islanders actually beat them out for first place. Montreal goes 52, 17, and 11. 115 points, 337 goals scored, 204 goals against. They are attracting 16,713 fans per game in an arena that seats 18,076. The Pittsburgh Penguins, 36, 31, and 13 record, 85 points, 281 goals scored, 279 goals against. They are attracting 11,430 fans in a building that seats 16,033. The LA Kings go 34, 34, and 12, 80 points, 292 goals scored, 286 goals against. Their attendance is low, 9,992 out of 16,005. That's the capacity there. For the Washington Capitals, their attendance is low as well. They're 24, 41, and 15 for 63 points. 273 goals scored, 338 goals against. They're attracting 9,925 fans per game in an arena that seats 18,130. So that's problematic. Detroit is bad, but they're attracting fans. 23, 41, and 16 record for 62 points. 252 goals scored, 295 goals against. They're getting 14,691 fans per game in an arena that seats 15,000. They're still in the Olympia at that point. The Boston Bruins win the Adams with a record of 45, 23, and 14 for 100 points, 316 goals scored, 270 goals against. They're attracting 12,986 fans per game in an arena that seats 14,654. Buffalo, 36, 28, and 16 record, 88 points, 280 goals scored, 263 goals against. They have a full building, 16,433 fans. So that's how many you get in that arena, and so the odd is full. The Toronto Maple Leafs, 34, 33, and 13 record, 81 points, 267 goals scored, 252 goals against. And further proof that no matter how good or bad Toronto is, fans will fill the building. They're above capacity. 16,477 fans per game in an arena designed to seat 16,316. So there's some standing room only there in Toronto. The Minnesota North Stars, attendance is an issue, and a little over a decade after, Minnesota loses their team due to it. In part, there are various reasons the North Stars failed there, but 28, 40, and 12 record, 68 points for them, 257 goals scored, 289 goals against, 10,722 fans per game. Had to get the air conditioner. Out of 15,000 people in that stadium. So again, there's almost 5,000 empty seats in Minnesota. Attendance is an issue in the NHL. Patrick Division, the New York Islanders win that. 51, 15, and 14 record for 116 points. So again, one more than Montreal. 358 goals scored, 214 goals against. They're getting 14,713 fans per game in an arena designed to seat 14,995. And yes, that's Nassau. Philadelphia, sellouts there. 40, 25, and 15 record for 95 points. 281 goals scored, 248 goals against. They have 17,077 fans per game in an arena that's designed to hold the exact same number. The New York Rangers, also pretty near a sellout every night. 40, 29, and 11 record for them, 91 points. 316 goals scored, 292 goals against. They're attracting 17,277 at MSG, which is designed to hold 17,500. The Atlanta Flames, who are close to being moved to Calgary, 41, 31, and 8 record, 90 points, 327 goals for, 280 goals against. So they're a good team, but the attendance not where you want it to be, 11,441 in a building designed to hold 15,155. The Smythe Division's won by Chicago, but guess what? We're back in a time where nobody has a winning record in this division. It's a brutal division. 29, 36, and 15 record for Chicago, 73 points. Again, the fact that they hadn't missed the playoffs in many, many years until the 90s there, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, right? Not great teams at points. 244 goals scored, 277 goals against for the 73-point division winners. 10,392 fans per night in an arena designed to hold 16,666. Chicago, their attendance is great when they're good, but man, when they're bad, the attendance can drop quickly. The Vancouver Canucks, 25-42 record for 63 points, 217 goals scored, 291 goals against. They're attracting 13,622 fans per game. The Pacific Coliseum sat 16,413 fans per game. St. Louis, 18-50-12 record, 48 points, and there's some financial distress with this team now. 249 goals scored, 348 goals against, 10,130 fans per game in an arena which can hold 17,968. That's an ouch. The Colorado Rockies getting ready to move to New Jersey in a few years here. 15-53-12 record for 42 points, 210 goals scored, 331 goals against. They're attracting 6,080 fans per game in an arena designed to hold 15,900. So numbers are kind of rough. The Rangers, they have a pretty good year. They poach Anders Nilsson and Anders Hedberg from the WHA, which is struggling. And the WHA is down to 7 teams at this point. And of course, this would be the final year for the World Hockey Association. Phil Esposito and John Davidson are a big part of the reason the Rangers go on an unexpected playoff run that sees them go all the way to the final. The Bruins, infamy right here. The too many men on the ice call. So Boston had. I hear infamy and I think of Vancouver. Sue me. But the Boston Bruins are ahead in Montreal 4-3 late in the game. Too many men on the ice call is made. Montreal has a lethal power play, and as such, they score on it, and then they win the game in overtime to win the series in 7 because it's a bad matchup for Boston. That's the semifinal as well. So Boston that close to a Stanley Cup final against the Rangers. March 29th of 1979, the WHA merger is announced. 4 teams are allowed in. 2 of the others are paid to go out of business. 7 teams kind of left in limbo, but we know the 4 teams coming in are the Oilers, the Whalers, the Nordiques, and the Jets. Gretzky has a 110-point season in that final year in the WHA as a 17-year-old. So, yeah, pretty strong season for him. So that Wayne Gretzky kid, he's pretty good, and I think he's got a pretty strong NHL future. So, July 26th of 1978, the New York Islanders sign a free agent named John Tonelli. He would end up being a pretty important person for their impending dynasty. February 18th of 1979, Mike Bossy scores his 100th career goal. It takes him 129 games to get to that 100-goal mark. That is an NHL record at that point in time. April 8th of 1979, Denny Potvin joins Bobby Orr as the only defenseman in the National Hockey League's history to record 100 points in a season. He finished with 101 that year. This is the last season until 05-06 that the Blues missed the playoffs. This is only a couple years away, though, from when they almost end up going to Saskatoon. The NHL did block that move, as I said in a recent video. April 22nd of 1979, Ken Dryden records his 72nd playoff win. It's in one of the games against Toronto during that series, which sets a career record in the National Hockey League for goaltenders in the playoffs. Your trophy winners that year, the Art Ross Trophy goes to Brian Trottier of the New York Islanders. The Masterton goes to Serge Savard of the Montreal Canadiens. The Calder goes to Bobby Smith of the Minnesota North Stars. The Conn Smythe goes to Bob Gainey of the Montreal Canadiens. Kind of an unlikely Conn Smythe winner, but absolutely deserved. He also won the Selke that year for Montreal, so Gainey, pretty strong resume he's building for what would be a Hall of Fame career. The Hart goes to Brian Trottier. The Jack Adams goes to Al Arbor of those New York Islanders. The Norris Trophy goes to Denny Potvin. The Lady Byng goes to Bob McMillan of the Atlanta Flames. The Lester Pearson Award goes to Marcel Dion of the LA Kings. And the Vezina Trophy goes to both Ken Dryden and Michelle Bunny Larocque of the Montreal Canadiens. Again, Montreal excellent at keeping the puck out of their net, and is a big part of the reason why they're so dominant in the late 70s. And the style that they play is largely seen as how Jacques Lemaire turn New Jersey into the trapping team they were in the mid-90s. So your All-Stars, Brian Trottier is the first-team All-Star in the middle. Of course, he's for the Islanders. Marcel Dion of the Kings, the second team. On the right side, Guy Lafleur of Montreal's first-team All-Star. Mike Bossy of the Islanders' second team. On the left side, Clark Gillies of the Islanders' first team. Bill Barber of the Flyers' second team. On the blue line, Denny Potvin of the Islanders and Larry Robinson of the Habs are your first-team All-Stars. Borje Salming of Toronto and Serge Savard of Montreal, your second-team All-Stars. And in net, Ken Dryden of Montreal is your first-team All-Star. And Chico Resch, Glenn Resch of the New York Islanders is second-team All-Star. So Brian Trottier does win the Art Ross. 76 games, 47 goals, 87 assists, 134 points. Marcel Dion, 80 games, 59 goals, 71 assists, 130 points. Guy Lafleur plays all 80 games as well. 52 goals, 77 assists, 129 points. Mike Bossy, 80 games, 69 goals, 57 assists for 126 points. So 69 goals, that's pretty good. Bob McMillan in Atlanta, 79 games, 37 goals, 71 assists, 108 points. If you're watching that going, Bob McMillan? Yeah, he had a career year that year. Guy Chouinard, 80 games, 50 goals, 57 assists, 107 points. Denny Potvin, 73 games, 31 goals, 70 assists, 101 points. And in net, Dan Bouchard is the leader in wins that year, 32, 21, and 7 record with Atlanta. Atlanta's goaltender leads the league in wins. Kind of strange. 3.33 goals against average and 3 shutouts. Just because where they are in the standings and everything, it's kind of a surprise. But if you play your goaltender a lot and they get some wins, there you go. Ken Dryden in Montreal, 30, 10, and 7 record, 2.3 goals against average, 5 shutouts. Don Edwards in Buffalo, 26, 18, and 9 record, 3.02 goals against, and 2 shutouts. Mike Palmateer in Toronto, 26, 21, and 10 record, 2.96 goals against, and 4 shutouts. Chico Resch in New York, 26, 7, and 10 record, 2.5 goals against, and 2 shutouts. And Billy Smith with the Islanders, 25, 8, and 4 record, 2.87 goals against, and 1 shutout. So in the playoffs, quite the playoffs too. In the preliminary round, we're still looking at best 2 out of 3 in the preliminary round. Pittsburgh beats Buffalo 2-1. Toronto beats Atlanta 2-0. The Rangers 2-0 over the LA Kings, and Philadelphia beats Vancouver 2-1 in their series. And one of the first playoff games I ever watched was one of those 3 games and it was a game that the Canucks lost. And it's kind of like, well, there you go. Quarterfinals, the New York Rangers beat Philadelphia 4-1 in that one. Boston beats Pittsburgh in 4 straight. Montreal beats Toronto in 4 straight. And the Islanders beat Chicago in 4 straight. So they had some stuff to do. They got some tea times. Get these series done. In the semifinals, Montreal and Boston had an epic series. First, Montreal holds serve at home, 4-2 and 5-2 to go up 2-0 in the series. Boston returns the favor, winning 2-1 and then 4-3 in overtime to tie the series. Montreal wins at home 5-1. Boston wins at home 5-2. And in Game 7, Montreal wins 5-4 in overtime. So unlike 2011, where it's Boston, Vancouver, and the home team wins every game, and then Boston wins Game 7 in Vancouver, in this one, Montreal avoids that thanks to the too many men on the ice call against the Bruins in that Game 7. In the other semifinal, it's the Rangers and the Islanders, and this is a rivalry that's really getting going now because both teams are playing important games. So the Rangers beat the Islanders 4-1 in the first game. The Islanders win at home 4-3 in the second game in overtime. The Rangers win at home 3-1. They then lose at home against the Islanders 3-2 in overtime. The Rangers go into New York, or go to Long Island and win 4-3. And then they come home to MSG and they win 2-1 to win the series in 6 games. And John Davidson had himself a series shutting down the Islanders. But then it's a whole other beast with the Montreal Canadiens. So in the final, the Rangers win in Montreal 4-1, which may have been a bad idea because clearly Montreal was angry. They win 6-2, then they go to New York. They win 4-1 and then 4-3 in overtime before winning at home 4-1 to win the series 4-1. Jacques Lemaire, 4 goals, 3 assists in that Stanley Cup final. Steve Shutt, 2 goals and 4 assists. Yvon Lambert, 2 goals, 4 assists for him. Bob Gainey had 3 goals, 2 assists. And Réjean Houle had a goal and 4 assists for the Montreal Canadiens. Ken Dryden had an .883 save percentage in the final, as save percentages have started to drop. It's part of the reason why I didn't bother putting them up there for the goaltenders for this video. but I may for the next one. Tony Esposito. See, I knew. Phil Esposito. I knew eventually I'd say the wrong Esposito. Get cocky and just put the last name up there, and it happens. Phil Esposito, 2 goals and an assist. Anders Hedberg had a goal and 2 assists. And Ron Duguay, 2 goals for Ron Duguay. A player who was talented and fun to watch, but also had the glorious hair and seemed to be just as interested in being a star in Hollywood as he was being a hockey player. John Davidson, .882 save percentage for Davidson in the Stanley Cup final. He just couldn't beat the Montreal Canadiens because nobody could. And they are a dynasty yet again. So the Montreal Canadiens win their 4th Stanley Cup in a row. It'll be their last Stanley Cup for what seemed like ages for Montreal, because it's 86 before they win it again. I mean, now we look, it's only 7 years between cups, but for them, it felt like it was forever, because Montreal fans were used to having a cup like every other year. Why aren't you winning a cup right now, kind of thing. So anyways, we'll get to those years and talk about that when we get there. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.